moving from Ambassador Atero, I'm going to go to my dear friend, Paul Onwuanibe. Paul.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Hi, Paul. Good, good. You have the floor for your initial comments.
Thank you very much. I have a presentation. It will take me between 5 and 7 minutes. Is the organizer able to upload it? Are you able to upload it? Let me see whether I can do it myself.
Try and share your screen.
All right. Can you see my screen?
Yes. Please convert to slideshow. Just make it a slideshow, that's all.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Is that fine?
Yes, that's fine.
All right, great stuff. Thanks. Well, firstly, I'd like to thank you and thank the AIHS team for being creative at a time when most of the world is in full throttle panic. You know, this is really a great opportunity to share ideas and wisdom amongst the stakeholders. From my personal point of view, I'm honored to be invited. The theme of my presentation today is all about how do we unleash the housing as a catalyst to economic recovery. Having said that, we've learned a lot in the one day of this conference, and probably a lot today on effectively the potential, the challenges of the housing sector. I want to really focus on the leadership of the housing sector, leadership from a government perspective and from a private sector perspective. So the importance of the housing sector cannot be overemphasized, as housing has a profound influence on the health, efficiency, social behavior, satisfaction, and the general welfare of the community. Now, as all of you know, there's something called the Black Swan event. Nigeria witnessed 3 Black Swan events: the COVID-19 infection, the lockdown, and the crash in oil prices. And as we grapple with these three events, we need to begin to chart the course on how we recover from these events. We're basically living in the most turbulent and challenging times of our generation. You know, our resolve and belief systems have been tested like never before. Black Swan events usually are characterized by the extreme rarity and severe impact. You know, examples are, you know, the Biafran War, the World War, September 11th. I mean, in the internet, even the rise of the internet in a certain way. But one thing we've learned from Black Swan events or from natural disasters, and let's take Hurricane Katrina, for example. It took 6 to 12 months after the actual storm to actually realize the damage the storm had caused. My view is that we probably have the next 3 to 6 months to begin to mitigate the damage of this pandemic. So the private sector and the government, I think we need to get our skates on. To survive a Black Swan event, I think there are 3 things that we need to focus on. One is the supply chain, to ensure that businesses and people can continue to buy and sell and the economy can survive. The second is business survival. It's important that people remain employed and people remain economically active. And then the third is the welfare of the citizens. So business, leisure, and lifestyle will revolve more around the home and less around work as we introduce technology, remote working, fitness, well-being, basically into our daily lives. This slide represents the myriad of the issues that require the attention to unlock and unleash the housing sector as a catalyst. Because of time, I wouldn't go through all of them. My slide 4. As I say, there are no roses without thorns. In order to enjoy something that is beautiful and pleasurable, you must be able to endure something that's difficult and painful. This slide gives us a flavor of those challenges the housing sector faces, and accentuated literally by the pandemic. You know, we in the housing sector, we actually represent the people in the trenches as we enter into the biggest health and economic crisis of our generation. So we are on ground zero, and it's up to us to figure out a way to unleash this sector to help this economic recovery. So as I say, no country is perfect, but some have shown a better understanding of the policies required to unlock the housing sector. This slide represents a number of the attributes that create a good platform to develop the housing sector. Good ideas, as I say, are common. But what's very uncommon is people who are prepared to work hard enough to bring it about. So let's look at what Rwanda, South Africa, and Namibia did. So Rwanda, basically, they tackled the housing sector by partnering with NGOs, the community, the private sector. They looked at developing rural neighborhoods. Housing was made more affordable by rezoning, urban renewals, greenfield expansions. The government issued grants, subsidies, incentives into the social housing sector. Housing assistance was actually linked to education and local employment. So developers actually had a social responsibility too, especially if they were going to tap into those grants. So they've scratched the surface, they're in the right direction. South Africa, most of us know, have their own tremendous problems, but they've basically focused on slum rehabilitation. So the low-cost housing program was introduced, and it was used to tackle housing crisis in major cities. They had price caps for affordability, and they had tax exemptions to developers who built affordable housing. Namibia, what did Namibia do? Namibia more or less commercialized privatized the urban public housing. Yeah? They introduced interest rates and mortgages less than 5%, and they developed rural areas and created new land policies. So the countries with poor enabling policies, and unfortunately, I've struggled with this. I did Nigeria they all have similar characteristics, yes. And I read a PwC report the other day, and it suggested that Nigeria holds something like $900 billion in dead capital, in dead real estate capital. And it seems fairly easy to sort of unleash this capital and put it to infrastructure and put it to the welfare of its citizens if we can correct some of the housing laws and the land law and the policies that surround land registration and land titling. Some areas are better than others, but the time has now come for our leaders in both the government and the private sector to focus on helping people secure what they need before we leaders help ourselves to what we actually want. By the stroke of a pen, there are a number of policies the government can create to ease this housing development burden. There must be authenticity, transparency, logic, and empathy for us to succeed in doing this. And this is a myriad of some of the benefits. The private sector must also hold itself as accountable, and we need to begin to focus on people rather than just our pockets. I mean, customer centricity has basically replaced conventional wisdom. We need to find out what the people want and give it to them first. We need to find out where they're going and get there first. And we at Landmark, we've tried to toe that trail, and history will judge how successful we could be. So simple old-fashioned principles of hard work, integrity, excellence, produce the cocktail of benefits that both the citizens and the government will enjoy that are similar to those that are enjoyed in developed countries. It's a choice we have to make at this decisive point in our life's journey. Not everything that can be counted actually really does count. We require commitment to start and the consistency to bring the benefits to the people. This slide sort of lays out a number of innovative ideas to help propel social housing in a way that will bridge the housing deficit. My understanding is that housing deficit is between 20 and 25 million units. And just making inroads into that will not only create employment and infrastructure, but will also meet largely the welfare of the people. My penultimate slide. So the biggest room in Nigeria is the one labeled improvement. It's my belief that a quantum leap is required to unleash housing as a catalyst on economic recovery and begin to chart the course for a better Nigeria. We must not squander this opportunity. We must do away with discretion, entitlement, bad judgment. People who say it can't be done should really move aside for the people who are already doing it. And that brings an end to my presentation. And so I'd like to end on this note. A great philosopher, Zig Ziglar, who I'm very proud of, said, "You can have everything in life you want if you just help other people get it." So real estate should no longer be governed by the wants of today, but rather the needs of tomorrow. We need to look into the future, and we need to seize this opportunity of a lifetime. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul. That was quite insightful. And I think the one major thing that hits best, the way you put it, is the need for authenticity and the need for clear leadership. And I will have a number of questions for you. And so be prepared and don't run anywhere, because there is a lot packed in that brief presentation that we're going to have to unbundle. So the next person I'm going to call at this point is Mukhtar